This week on Case Studies with the Biz Doc, Poshmark. What's it about? It just went public. I can share my fashion and sell it to people around the world? Yes, you can. The history, where are they going, and what do I think this week? Poshmark. I'm going to take you through the history, the venture funding phase, the IPO, and what went in between it, along with lessons for you and me. Let's start with the history. Poshmark was founded by this guy, Manish Chandra. Chandra started this company once upon a time called Caboodle. That was actually his first attempt to create a shopping experience. However, it didn't work so well, and he sold the company, I guess it was 25 or 30 he sold it for. He gets together with Chetan Pangalia, Gautam Golwala, and Tracy Sun, who was a fashion industry executive, and they all came together to form Poshmark, where you could sell things out of your closet that were recent fashions to other people around the world, sort of an eBay for your closet based on recent fashion and fashion connections. So those folks get together, and now they got to go, like most venture-funded companies, got to find some venture-funded money. So with Poshmark born, they go out and they raise a Series A in 2011 for about $3.5 million. Now that's pretty good. They had a couple dollars in their pocket, and I'm assuming that Manish had some dollars saved because, he had just sold Caboodle for $30 million. Now he's got to give that to his investors and whoever else was involved there. But that was sort of his 1.0 for a fashion, app marketplace. And here we go, 2.0. About a year later, 12 million Series B. Then that lasted 3 years. So it shows that they were building something in this venture phase. Raised a Series C of 25 million. 2015. In 2016, they had made $48 million in revenue, raised another $25 million. So now they are at a $4 million per month run rate. That's pretty damn good. The following year, they raised an $88 million Series E. Now, why is that important? You can see the jump here that says this was basically the early venture phase and are probably losing money. And these are not big dollars for established companies that have found their revenue. There are venture funded companies that raise a hell of a lot more than this. Nonetheless, they raise $88 million and they double revenue year over year, 2017 to $100 million. So that's only $153 million raised, and they already had $200 million in revenue for the company over its life, going back to 2011 when they were really building the app. But what I find really interesting about this is the stick-to-itiveness of the team. The team was really focused and tweaking and working hard, and here they had actually built something. Then, over the next few years, I call this go time and grow time. You can notice from 2017 to the IPO in 2021, that's 4.5, 5 years, and they were continuing to generate really good revenue and starting to attract brands. Brands were coming in. People were like, hey, there's Nike collections from shoe collectors, or Nike collections of athletic gear, or you had, Louis Vuitton collections. There were things that were happening on Poshmark as people created their own little stores. As a matter of fact, Poshmark made a couple tools that would help them sell things, such as the Poshmark bots, which would handle a bunch of the mundane things that need to happen as you were running your Poshmark storefront. They also then created this, Poshmark user conferences. They had one in 13 and 14 and 16, and this is where Poshmark users would get together, as you can see here, at the October 2013 Poshmark event held in Las Vegas called PoshFest. These conferences were a way for people to get together and learn best tips for running your commerce environment. Now, these people were suddenly not just looking to their own closets, there were professional sellers that were expanding. There were also brands coming in, like Nike, who are like, wait a minute, if you're having people selling collections of Nike gear or Nike apparel, why wouldn't we want to show new stuff or do things on there as well? Well, Poshmark became that and more. It wasn't just an eBay for used clothing, it was curated fashion, and that was the difference. People would load the app on their phone and could find people that like the same things that they did. I think I like this, I like that, and do it. And as you can see, this revenue was just based on the fees. The money for that is just similar to eBay, where you sell something, eBay gets a little bit and there's the shipping, but the rest is yours. So this revenue here represented the fees they were collecting. So this is a very real business driving forward with a user community and things of that nature. Well, I said go time, grow time. Where did they get to? Well, first of all, Right now, 2021, and we're filming this at the beginning of 2021, they were up to 1 sale per second in the United States. That's 60 sales a minute, so that's rocking. They also have over 200 million items on there and 70 million registered users, mostly in the US and Canada, because they launched in Australia not long ago. Again, we're here in first quarter 2021 as we film this case study. And going back, $4 billion in sales enabled. So these fees here that they're collecting for having an online storefront and the things of that nature and a percent of a deal. So think of it. That's like Macy's saying we have $4 billion in sales over the last, say, 6 years. That wouldn't be a lot for Macy's, but the point is that's what the revenue would be if you were thinking of it that way. Phenomenal, phenomenal. So they choose to go public. Now, when they went public, this IPO was a little bit exciting. So they went out at about a $3 billion valuation, as I recall, in the IPO, and then rockets all the way up to over $100 in 2 days. Now, when an IPO does that, there's only one word for that, and it is damn. That's a big jump. But then what happens? Don't panic. Everybody that was buying shares at the IPO, they were buying from the early insiders and the friends and family and the people that already own those shares going into the IPO. So when that rockets up like that, those people that were in the IPO are like, well, hell, why wouldn't I sell for $100? 2 days after I had the stock in my pocket for 49. Damn straight you would, and that's what they happened. But it also created downward pressure as all those shares came available for sale on the market, and it dropped down. We're now sitting there at about $50 a share right now at $3.6 billion valuation, so very close to where the IPO happened. So it's been a very exciting first 60 days since the IPO, but I don't think that that is a big deal for Poshmark. I think this is as much as a market dynamic, and we could do a whole case study talking about the pricing of IPOs and the games that the underwriters and the banks play, but the bottom line is they're going to announce their first quarter earnings, and I think they're going to go up from this $50 number where they are right now. But I'm not here an analyst to say buy, hold, or where it's going. My point is this was awful excited, but they're back, even though it looks like it's come down, they're really back where they started on middle of January. So going public can have its excitement, and then you have to manage the market. Maybe I'll do a case study on that about how to manage the market when you're an early company that's gone out for your IPO and how to set expectations. I know something about that because I've been part of a couple IPOs. Now then, let's go back and take a look at what lessons could this crew of people that built Poshmark have for you and me. Well, the first lesson, I think, is take a look at this. This is really a 9 or 10-year-old company. So the amount of optimization that they've been in there is very high. So that's the first thing. It's not on my lesson list, but it's you keep your focus in optimizing. So focus, focus, focus is my first one. They were focusing on what they did. They could have been a storefront for a lot of different things. They had an app that was a storefront. Sell fishing gear, sell sports. Nope. They stayed right on their focus for clothing and related accessories and a high focus on it. So focus, 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 optimize, optimize, optimize. Become the expert on the market you came into and you know, unless there's a compelling reason to jump into another market. Like you've only sold 3 things, you built this great technology, you know the technology works, selling 3 things sucks. Maybe you go to a different market. But in this case, the focus and staying on course, I think, was a key to Poshmark's success over these 10 years as they built up. The second is market expansion, like Uber and Lyft. Now remember Uber and Lyft, they couldn't go into certain markets till they had background checks on at least 400 drivers or something. They needed 400 drivers, 400 cars, some combination that Uber or Lyft needed before they would go into a market and put it on the app, so that when you and me were looking for an Uber, say you go to Indianapolis and they've just opened up Indianapolis, there's got to be cars there. Otherwise, you're never going to close it up. Oh, I didn't use it in Indianapolis. No cars, couldn't work. I don't even know why they let me choose Indianapolis. I got off the plane, was looking at it, couldn't find an Uber, couldn't find a Lyft. So they had to have market expansion on a very intelligent basis. Poshmark's done the same thing. They were in the US, Canada, and now recently Australia. And it started this year. I saw some tennis things for the Australian Open. Serena Williams had a Poshmark activity was there. And also, if you bought this stuff, you'd also get a Serena Williams signed a tennis ball for you. So there was a little bit of promotion that was going on there too. But I think that the way that they've done their market expansion is very, very smart. You need enough buyers and sellers, and you need to progress with it. Also, you have currency. Also, you have shipping. So there's variability in each market that is going to be unique to that market. And so you have to be intelligent about your expansion. Armed with the money they made in the IPO, they've gone and opened up Australia. And then lastly, This is actually my favorite part of the Poshmark case study is this lesson. 2.0 can apply to you. Remember I told you at the beginning of the case study that Manish Chandra had started with Caboodle? Well, what's interesting about that, this is really Caboodle 2.0 with the people that I mentioned that are making the dream of Caboodle come true. And I think that applies to you and me. Just because you do something and it fails, there may be some kernels or some technology or ideas or applicability that's in there that you could apply in the future. That is what Manish Chandra did, and that is the core of the Poshmark case study. That's what I think. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. I answer as many as I can, and Poshmark was a recommendation from one of you. Please subscribe to Valuetainment and hit the bell so you get notifications every time. If you like this case study, check out this. I did it a couple years ago, and I think you'll really enjoy it. As I always say, I'm Ellsworth the Biz Doc, and I hope I left you better than I found you.